To our last final of the day before two more races of senior Rotax racing action. It is time for DD2 Masters. Here is your grid for their final race of today on Saturday the 1st of August. So on the front row, it will be race one winner, the pre-final winner, Christophe Adams in the 555, and we'll have Great Britain's Tamsin Germain in the 525 alongside. Jim Ringelberg from the Netherlands in the 595. We'll have Ian Gepps from Belgium in the 537 alongside. Then it is James Beecroft in the 517 ahead of Tom Dessert from Belgium in the 530. Michael Becker this time will start on 7th position on the inside of row number 4 alongside countryman Andreas Schindler from Germany, with Dimitri Ostrovsky and Tanju Yildiz rounding out another double German row on row number 5 ahead of Rudy Champion, with Ronald Billings, Konrad Bayer, Roland Kinch, Karl Klebort, Bruno Dos Santos and Bart Koeman. Now obviously Kinch, Klebort, Dos Santos and Koeman all retired from the previous race. So let's see, because both Klebort and Dos Santos were involved in incidents, and Klebort was given a 5-second penalty post-race for causing an avoidable collision. However, this is a different proposition altogether. Last race for today, but they will have another qualifying session tomorrow. 5 minutes to put themselves on the grid. That could give Karl Klebort the opportunity he needs to get back into the fight and into a possibility of having some damage limitation. Because every good champion can also do that in the process of working their way through the field. With a championship, it's always a marathon, but not a sprint. But then you ask someone who races the 24 Heures du Mans, and they'll say, hey, it's always a 24-hour sprint. They're telling us to push every single step of the way. And that's very true in sprint race formats, especially in karting. So 13 minutes on the clock, plus an additional lap. The red lights are on the starting gantry. One more time for DD2 Masters. So it's Adams and Germain on the front row of the grid. Red lights are on the gantry, waiting to extinguish at a moment's notice. And then we try and pick up the pace, and if I'm honest with you, that's not exactly the start that Tamsin Germain wanted, and I don't think some of the drivers are very happy about that, because Christophe Adams went a bit, well, started ahead of everybody else. Tamsin Germain, as a result of that, has dropped down into 5th position, and now has to fight back up the order. So Christophe Adams managed to outfox everybody, and as a result of that, drivers have been found to be out of position where they would have been in that particular type of the race. However, we are underway. We have had the red lights extinguished on the gantry. So Christophe Adams now has Jim Ringelberg, and that looks to be James Beecroft that's got up into 3rd place. Tamsin Germain now down in 5th place behind Michael Becker, but Germain does have the pace to move forward as a result of that, and we did see a really good show of that last time out, and Germain's fastest lap last time out was actually one of the 5 drivers that did a sub 55-second lap time. And actually, I'm having a look here, because the best lap time in the previous race was actually by Tamsin Germain, a 54.870, so even though they started with 13 minutes on the clock, a lot can change over the course of a race. And it's very true in DD2 Masters, but Ringelberg will have an opportunity to try and move forward to see if Christophe Adams can be caught. And I know for a fact, I have seen it happen, that Christophe Adams has managed to get away, and then people have started reeling him in. And obviously, quite recently celebrated another birthday, did Christophe Adams. But he has plenty of experience. He's a bit of an exuberant character, let's say, off the track. But now, Ringelberg is about half a second behind. Oh, there's been a bit of contact a little bit further down the order, and that is Rudy Champion, and that is Tom Dessert. And Rudy Champion's front axle went up into the air a little bit there as the pair interlocked wheels. So, but they're both still running out on the circuit in the minute. And at the moment, I'm just keeping an eye on the fastest lap, and it is that in the hands of Tamsin Germain, who's just put in a 56.105. She's currently P4 behind fellow Brit James Beecroft in the 517. And the gap between the pair of them is now about just over half a second. But Germain looks to be a little bit closer this time, going through the right-hander at turn number 10, as Christoph Adams now looking to... Christoph Adams, he's a character on the track as well as off the track. He's just gone right hand in the air, and he looked over his right shoulder and is to say, what's going on? Well, I think, Christoph, you're in for a little bit of a surprise here, because Jim Ringelberg has been closing in on you, as has James Beecroft, as has Tamsin Germain. So now Jim Ringelberg has got the fastest lap of the race, a 55.788, and that is the fastest out of the top 6. Second fastest in that is Ian Getz. Then it's Michael Becker, and that is Tom Dessert climbing out of the cart. So Dessert now opting to retire after the collision with Rudy Champion, and that is on the outside of turn number 6. So that has, again, changed the order of things. And Dessert last time out finished in P6. So 9 minutes and 18. Still to go, plus an additional lap. The top 3 getting even more closer together than we have seen in the covered as... Oh, Ringelberg sends a good one up the inside of Christoph Adams. And here comes James Beecroft trying to go through on the inside of turn 2. Can't get through on the outside of turn 3. Adams is looking over his right and left shoulders as if to say, oh, what's going on here? I'm being mugged. Christoph, you've got to watch out, because Tamsin Germain's not too far behind either. Now we got Ian Getz, and Tamsin Germain's just put in the fastest lap of the race of 55.589. So, for those wondering at home that aren't educated in terms of the properties of aerodynamics, and this even works in the form of karting, when you look at, if there's a driver in front, they will punch a hole in the dirty air, and everyone else will have that little bit more opportunity to use less of the throttle, less of the engine power. They're not using their tyres as much, even though the kart might feel slippery than a duck on an icy pond, as Tom Dessert is now confirmed as out of the race. When you look at it, you see from Ringelberg, Adams, Beecroft, Germain and Getz, that's the top 5 at the moment. Michael Becker isn't too far away. He's about 0.6 away from this top 5 Scrabble. But now you'll see that the person at the back end of the train will probably get the most assistance possibly, depending on how much the gap is between the respective carts. And the way that James Beecroft just closed up, in many respects, how these side of things will move on, as now, you know, Jim Ringelberg will move forward, but Christoph Adams is trying to keep in touch, and he's just done a 56.306. James Beecroft's just done a 56.233. Tamsin Germain is actually the second quickest at the moment in terms of the pure lap pace. And now we've had a time penalty, and that is for the 5.15 of Andreas Schindler. So Andreas Schindler now will drop down, and that will pretty much put him into 15th and stone dead last in that particular race. So it's had a time penalty issued by race control. 7 minutes on the clock plus an additional lap still remaining in this race, as Jim Ringelberg and Christoph Adams battling away over the lead. James Beecroft and Tamsin Germain rounding out the top 4 positions. Ian Getz is still staying with them at the moment. Michael Becker rounds out the top 6 ahead of Rudy Champion. Dimitri Ostrovsky ahead of Konrad Bayer, who's having a good run down in 9th position, ahead of Andreas Schindler, who will post-race be demoted. But he's got to try and make up a few seconds over the next 6 minutes and 27 on the clock remaining, as again Adams trying to keep in touching distance with Ringelberg. And this time again, Rudy Champion now puts in the fastest lap of the race of 55.277. And the last laps around, Jim Ringelberg puts in a 55.230, which is 0.003 off of Champion this particular occasion. Christoph Adams now is going to be in 36 thousandths of a second adrift. James Beecroft, a 55.465. Tamsin Germain rounds out the top 4 positions, and she is only 0.168 of a second off of 3rd position at the minute. So now, what does this kind of how does it look from my perspective, seeing the top 4 positioned as they are? We'll make that the top 5 because Getz is there, and the top 5 separated by 0.973 of a second, with 5 minutes and 25 seconds to go. What might happen? I can't tell you. I seriously cannot tell you, because if I try and predict something, normally I'm wrong. And that's very, very true. Most of my people say that, my friends say, well, Alex, whenever you decide you're going to give us a presumptive guess, you always get it wrong. That's why I don't do it anymore. But you can now see how close the top 4 are. So anyone, well, top 5 is, Ian Gepps tries to go up the inside of Tamsin Germain through turn 9 and nearly clatters into the left-hand side as well. There's a little bit of a touch from behind on Ringelberg from Adams, as now James Beecroft senses an opportunity, goes towards the outside of Christoph Adams, and then Tamsin Germain tries to go up the inside of the fellow Brit, but can't get through. Gets the head down, does Beecroft. And I think Beecroft's saying to Germain, come on Tamsin, just work with me. Let's get in front of these two guys. And that means that if we have a British 1-2, irrespective of who that is, that'll warm the little cockles in my heart. But it's just dependent on what happens next. So now Tamsin Germain has got past James Beecroft, and I'm just looking at the lap times. Tamsin Germain on pure pace over the last lap was about 1/10 of a second quicker. And in some respects, that might actually help over the next couple of minutes or so, because we've got 4 minutes plus an additional lap still to go here. And there was a really, really dicey, there's a really good move there from Ian Gepps up the inside of James Beecroft, and that is for now P4. But this has allowed Tamsin Germain to now strike away, as Beecroft will try and get up the inside of Gepps, and then just behind them they've got Rudy Champion from France in the 544 from PKS Competition. So now I think what Germain's got to do is just really just go for it. There's, as they say, you've got nothing to lose but everything to gain. And good to see some other people joining the feed. Ollie Pilka from Poland. Hope you're keeping well, buddy. I know you're racing elsewhere this weekend. Very best of luck to you. Robert Nelredecker. We've also got Steve Hansel. We've also got John Soul from the United Kingdom. Hope you're all keeping well. Thank you very much for tuning in, as we've got 180 seconds plus an additional lap still to go in the DD2 Masters final here on day 1 of the BNL Karting Series Round 1 in 2020. And Ringelberg is just keeping it consistent. He's just put in the fastest lap of the race, a 55.111. And that keeps him 0.276 ahead, as Tamsin Germain has just responded in style, a 55.022 from the Brits in the 525, as we're now on to lap number 12 with 2.5 minutes remaining. Your guess is as good as mine. Who is going to win this? I'm not too sure, but it's going to be quite interesting what is going to happen in the next 3 to 4 minutes of racing, because now the gap between first to third is 0.636 of a second. Germain has an opportunity. Adams now has to use all his wily experience to try and keep Tamsin Germain at bay over the next couple of minutes or so to secure second. And you can just see how hard Tamsin Germain is working behind that wheel to really keep up pace with Christoph Adams as they come across the line. That's now lap number 12 completed. And Tamsin Germain is the first driver in this field, in this race, to go sub 55, and is right on the back bumper of Christoph Adams going through turn 4. 54.974 for the Brit, and is sensing an opportunity to strike whilst the iron is hot. Not figuratively, but not literally, of course. But then Christoph Adams manages to power away, but it's through the twisty stuff. You really see Tamsin Germain come alive and really bring the equilibrium into her favour. And now they come down from turn 9, down into turn 10, into the right-hand sweeper. And again, Christoph Adams manages to pull away when it's a straight line. But then, when it gets to the twisty stuff, Tamsin Germain seems to have the counter-attack, if you will, as they now go down into turns 1 and 2, as Adams sends it up the inside of Ringelberg. He knew, he saw it on the clock, how many seconds were left, and he just went, oh, I've had enough. I'm fed up with playing. I'll just go for it. And he just ended up the inside of Ringelberg. But that has given another opportunity now for Tamsin Germain to try and see if she can strike at Ringelberg in the dying few moments of this race. 30 seconds on the clock as they're coming through turn 8 right now. And you cannot really put it, I can't really decide between the three of them, because this has been really, really good strategic racing from all three of them so far in this race. And Adams just trying to nip it in the bud before everything goes a bit south. But Ringelberg might have other ideas, because he's right up the back bumper heading into turn number 1. Or heading into turn 12. He's got the run on Adams. Is he going to return the favour this lap? No, says Christoph Adams. No, you will not pass. You will not pass. So the timer has pretty much expired. Next time around we will get the final lap board, but Christoph Adams just putting on the brakes and just sort of like going to Ringelberg. Sorry, can't let you come through. But they head down into turn 7 for the penultimate time. As now, that is a slight change there, with Ian Gepps actually managing to... Now, Tamsin Germain, has she had a bit of a drama there on that last lap? She did a 55.249, and Ian Gepps, who was about, I'm not too sure how much farther behind. It's more a case of... So she now is down in what is 4th position as we've gone on to the final lap, and Christoph Adams ahead of Jim Ringelberg. Ian Gepps is ahead of Tamsin Germain. So we've also got Rudy Champion and James Beecroft. They round out the top 6. We're on to the final lap, and Christoph Adams, he's won the first final. And now that, in many respects, he's decided to sort of, I don't know whether he's showboating or whether he's got this new sort of confidence for 2020. It's quite difficult to tell with this man, but they come through turn 11 for the final time. Round the right-hand sweeper at turn 12. Christoph Adams in the 555. Pulls out of the final corner and takes the checkered flag, and he's punching the air with the right hand once again. 2 race wins for him. Jim Ringelberg will again take a top 3 finish this time. It will be 2nd position as opposed to 3rd last time out. Ian Gepps will also take 3rd position ahead of Tamsin Germain, who started on the front row alongside Christoph Adams. And then we have got Rudy Champion, who started from P11, finished in P5. So let's have a look at the finishing order here. We had both Tom Dessert and Roland Kinch, unfortunately, retired from the race, but it was Christoph Adams in the 555 that won the race by 0.364 seconds, ahead of the Netherlands' very own Jim Ringelberg, with Ian Gepps in 3rd, Tamsin Germain from Great Britain in 4th, ahead of Rudy Champion, James Beecroft from Great Britain in 6th, ahead of Michael Becker, Dimitri Ostrovsky, Konrad Bayer, Andreas Schinder, who will be given a 5-second time penalty post-race, I would imagine. I'll wait for the confirmed results to be dropped down to me. Bruno Dos Santos, provisionally confirmed in 11th, ahead of Germany's Tanu Yildiz, Karl Klebort, Bart Koeman, Ronald Billings, Roland Kinch, and Tom Dessert, with the latter 2 not finishing the race.